do you want to go through a little bit of dramatic repartee and trying to help everyone understand what happened at the end of that race? Because on paper, this looks like a triumph for McLaren. On paper.
Yeah, 100%. Like a 1-2 finish should be,
Right.
with Oscar Piastri winning his first Formula One race in his career. Like he's won a sprint race before, but this was the big one. He has not won one of these yet. This should have been a weekend where McLaren, they pack up their like garage and they pack up everything put everything on the plane, pack up their suitcases and they go home and they're all smiling and they're like, wow, we actually have the fastest car, guys. We did it.
Mhm.
That was great. It was a 1-2 finish. We beat the third place driver by several seconds. It wasn't particularly dramatic at any point that, there was no doubt that either of our guys would finish in the top two.
Yep.
It was close at times, but we kind of controlled that one pretty well. We're all happy. We're all going home, but somehow, Spencer, that's not how anyone feels today.
No, not at all. And I'm going to go ahead and start reading a little bit, if you would. I'm at the McLaren transcript that we have in our show doc. If you would like to join me, I'm going to skip down a little bit and take you straight to lap 49. Okay. Which is where you have the voices that I'm going to do. Our race engineer, Will Joseph of McLaren, who's communicating with both drivers. And I'm also going to be doing Tom Stollard, another engineer for McLaren. Okay. This is lap 49, Will Joseph.
You're doing both voices.
Yes, because I want you to do little Lando, because I think you can channel Lando. Okay. This is my casting direction.
I can sound disappointed.
All right. Will Joseph. Lando, just 21 laps after this one. You do have the current fastest lap. Look after the tires. Tom Stollard. Okay, Oscar. Once you get to Lando, we'll swap the position. But we want to avoid Lando having to give up a lot of race time. Let's remind everybody here, the positioning as it stands at this point in the race is that Lando Norris is ahead of Oscar Piastri due to some pit shenanigans, some race strategizing that, normally would be pretty benign because Piastri had better pace. However, Piastri makes a slight mistake and starts losing time behind him. So for a minute, the idea that Oscar Piastri would have caught him anyways is not a foregone conclusion, because Norris is maintaining or increasing the lead due to Piastri making a couple of very minor, in the general picture, but significant in the moment missteps. So we're going to go ahead and do this. All right. We're moving down to lap 53, where just to make sure everything's okay, Joseph says, Lando, radio check, please.
Yes, loud and clear.
Okay, save the tires in T4 and T11, please. We need you to save tires. Joseph. And we want to let Oscar through.
Well, you should have boxed him first then, surely.
Doesn't matter.
It does. For me, maybe.
Okay. So, time out. This is the race engineer is asking him to conserve tires in those turns because Lando's still making pace. He's still trying to pull away. He's still not doing the thing they asked him to, which is he's going all out when they needed him to maintain so that Piastri could catch up to him.
They're also like double and triple checking, like, hey, you can hear us, right? Like, is your radio broken? We've been trying to tell you, you're not saying anything back. Are you there? And he's like, yeah, I'm processing the last 30 minutes of this race and the fact that I'm in first place. And this is Lando Norris's perspective, which I think is fair. It's fair to put yourself in his shoes and be like, why did he have to give that up? Lando Norris is in second place behind Max Verstappen right now. And he is maybe the only driver who can actually challenge the Drivers' Championship. And he's in first place, and he was on pole leading into the race, lost his position going after, or into the first turn on lap 1. So he's like, well, you guys put me out in front for a reason, surely. So now you want me to give it away?
Now let's go
I'm gonna ignore you.
Let's go to the full, we've been trying to contact you about your overdue bill voice here. Okay. That's Will Joseph again. Lando, we still think you're using the tires too much. T4, T11, and the rears and the exits turn 6 and 9. Oscar's 3.5 seconds behind. I know you'll do the right thing. Turn 4, turn 11, It's gonna get boring. Okay, Lando. This is 4 laps later with no response from Lando Norris. Is this thing on? Okay, Lando. 10 laps to go. We think both cars are using the tires too much. Just remember every Sunday morning meeting we have.
Yep. Tell him to catch up then, please. That was the ultimate guilt trip. Hey, remember the Sunday meetings? Remember how we all have our breakfast together and we chit chat on Sundays and we go over the strategy? Like, you don't want those to be awkward going forward, do you, Lando? Remember, you made a promise.
Remember the good times in the hauler. Remember the egg whites.
Oh. The mushy peas. What else do they eat for like the sauteed tomato?
Yeah. The sauteed tomato, the black pudding, right?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
The goat's head.
Oh, man.
I'm sorry, that's a Mongolian breakfast, but not a Mongolian breakfast. It's more like lunch. But anyway, we're going to go to something extraordinary here, which is, I think, the last bit that we're going to do because it really is extraordinary. I've never heard this before, and I think to this detail. And Jessica, have you ever had an argument with your significant other in front of others where you said, we need to take this to the DMs. We need to take this outside, or we need to stop, right? Have you ever had that sort of argument?
I haven't had that with my significant other, but I've had this with like my parents. I've had this with friends. I've certainly had this with a lot of people. I've never had this with my sister. My sister and I will start throwing punches in front of other people. We don't give a shit. But yes, this is a very relatable feeling. Like, okay, we need to do this where people can't see us doing this because it's going to be very awkward for all of us.
And who holds the power in that situation? The person who will take it public. The person who doesn't give a fuck. The person who will just go ahead and do it live in front of everyone. They're the ones who hold the power in that moment. Right now, this is Lando Norris because Joseph has been reduced to doing this live on the radio in front of God and Christian Horner. Okay, because Christian Horner's listening in on this, like, oh my God.
Yeah. Oh, and the entire world was listening to this on Sky Sports, and it was every second of it was delicious.
Yeah, I repeat, live. Everyone's listening to this. Lando, he can't catch you up. You've proved your point, and it really doesn't matter.
He's on much quicker tires. I mean, I would have tried to undercut anyway. If I didn't, I would have gotten...
We did this stop sequence for the good of the team.
Yeah, and I'm fighting for this championship.
Pause. I'm sorry. This is the most Kobe Bryant moment. The one that's like, hey, there's no I in team. Ain't no we either. I'm trying to protect you, mate. I'm trying to protect you. Lando, there are 5 laps to go. Lap 66. The way to win a championship is not by yourself. You're going to need Oscar, and you're going to need the team.
Then he said the longer we leave this, the riskier it gets.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't worry, Oscar. Yeah. We're managing it. That's Tom Stollard, by the way, just chiming in here now, right?
Oscar's like, what the fuck is going on? I thought he was going to give me my place back.
Yeah. And then Will's like, if there's a safety car now, it makes this very awkward. Please do it now. Yes. And then Norris finally manages to do it. Finally. And then, and then they just, then everything's fine. Everything's fine.
Was there a moment where you were like, oh, he's not giving this up? Because for me, there were like four laps to go and then 3 laps to go. I was like, oh, this is going to be the ugliest champagne-drenched celebration we've ever seen in F1 because they're all going to be so mad at each other.
What a turn that would have been if Lando had just popped right out like and not given it up. I thought lap 65, 66, there was a flash of a moment where after Lando's last radio message before he gave it up, I thought he might not.
I didn't think he was going to, and I thought that even though probably the world would have been mad at him, I would have understood, and I would have been going out on a limb like, I kind of get it, but am I alone on that, Spencer? Like, what do you think he should have given it back?
All right. Here's the point where we say the thing that you're not supposed to say, in terms of the team, in terms of the sport, and in terms of how everyone else believes things should go in the sense of fairness and of team strategy. Piastri did earn that spot, and pit strategy is the only reason that he's back there. However, I will point out also that Lando was gaining time at this point. He was faster and he was in the lead. I would have had a really hard time as a driver not doing that. I would have. And I also say this, the idea of making a team argument, I get this is a team sport, even if there are only two drivers on the grid at any point. Okay. That makes it a unique team sport, but still, I would also say this, it's not like the team's going to have any kind of loyalty towards Lando if things go sideways. It's not like that. It's not like it's not like they're going to grant him a win in any other situation. It's nothing's free and the driver is disposable. And I think that those factors, even for somebody like Lando, who may not have been through the kind of like career knocks of somebody like a Fernando Alonso or hell, even a Lewis Hamilton at this point, um, I could see just going for it. I would not have blamed him at all, because it's a weird sport, because there are moments of where being selfish is exactly what you're supposed to do. And then there's moments where you are reminded to be a team player to teams that have very little loyalty to you, right? Like it could turn on a dime. Some teams are less loyal than others. McLaren has been devoted to Norris at every level. So I think that may be part of the good credit that McLaren has earned in Norris's eyes that allowed him to make this decision. But if he gives it up to Piastri and Piastri eventually overshadows him, then yeah, it's going to rankle. It's the kind of thing that you go, it would take an extraordinary pair of people and extraordinary management to make this happen. You know who you didn't hear on the mic? That was interesting. At no point will you hear like Zach Brown chime in. Like, these were just engineers, right?
That would have been the ultimate, like, hey, hey,
Right.
buddy. It's like when your babysitter has to like call your mom.
Yeah.
Like,
And yeah, I'll put her on the phone.
said it's your bedtime. I'm gonna put her on the phone. Yeah. I don't know. I feel like at the end of the day, Norris ultimately did the right thing for the team, I guess team chemistry and cohesion and camaraderie. And like, he did say a lot of the right things after the race.
Yeah.
But it did feel really awkward watching Oscar win. And then like, it kind of like took the air out of it, I guess. And I don't think that Lando Norris should be blamed for that. I think that's really McLaren just kind of mismanaging the situation
Badly.
and not being like kind of just repeating the same mistakes that they have in previous races that they've lost, where they're just very indecisive about who is the number one driver, who gets the number one strategy, like who like it just, you can't like play it fairly in equally both ways. There has to be that sort of like 1-2 hierarchy in F1 or it just doesn't work. And it doesn't seem like they really wanted to commit to like, all right, we have one driver that has a very small outside chance of winning the championship. We should do everything we can to get him the most amount of points. It seemed like they were like, well, you know, Oscar was in the lead on his own merit, like should be noted. He was like that. He earned that. He's very fast and he is a very good driver. Like, he deserves to have this win, and you know, our shenanigans shouldn't ruin it for him. But I think they kind of screwed it up, and it kind of it took the wind out of the sails for Oscar for a minute. But